Hola amores, and welcome back to the channel. And to those who don't know me, I am Maritza, currently a graduate master's student in psychology. And today we are going to talk about the ways the paid escorts outperform sexually the average date, the average lady out there. And why does it actually feel different to the men? Let's get into it right away. My loves, whenever we hear the topic of the escort industry, whenever it comes up, the first question as people in general, we tend to ask is, but wait a minute, do they actually do it different, right? Do they do something different? And of course, you know what I'm referring to, those physical acts in the bedroom. However, as a psychology student, I have found that the difference is not actually in the bed. Where does it take place? In the brain. Because the real difference between one or the other is just very carefully constructed by the psychological environment that most of us forget to build in our everyday lives. What is it? It is the leveraging of the neurochemistry and social cues that help create such a special experience between the men's sexual encounter with the escort. That's why it actually feels quite literally out of this world for them. So my friends, the first way of the reasoning of why those sexual encounters between the men and the escorts may feel very different is because the escorts, they help the men regulate their nervous system. And why is that? Well, I'll explain. In a typical relationship, man and lady, we are often in a state of sympathetic nervous activation. That is the activation system we normally have because we're either very stressed or we're rushing or maybe we're carrying on the baggage from perhaps our last argument. However, with a professional companion, things are done very different. And how? Well, by forcing the man's body into a parasympathetic state, which is what? It is the rest and the digest mode. Because they use what? They use soft lighting, maybe controlled scents, and maybe a specific tone of a voice that lowers the man's cortisol levels. And when the cortisol drops, the brain is finally allowed to feel pleasure. They don't just provide a service, they provide a biological rest. The second way the escorts do it very different is by what? By giving the men a sexual dopamine peak. And how do they do that? Well, let me explain. In long-term relationships, the sexual reward for the man's or even the lady's daily effort is often very delayed or maybe even very subtle. However, with the professionals, it is not, because the professionals, they operate in a high-frequency dopamine level, and they do things very different. How? I will tell you. They are able to provide the gentleman, whoever is paying for their service, a constant positive reinforcement. Every story the man tells her is just so fascinating. Every joke he tells her is very hilarious. She laughs at everything. Every touch they give each other is very electric. And by allowing the man to continue staying in his character, they ensure that his reward centers in firing all those levels that real-life interactions rarely reach. So escorts aren't just reacting to him, they're engineering his sexual peak experience. Now let's talk about something called emotional mirroring and the echo effect that the escorts transmit to the men while they're enjoying these sexual experiences and why it makes it all very different. There's a neurological phenomenon called mirror neurons, and this is exactly what allows us to feel what others feel. And of course, the truth is, a wife or a girlfriend, they have many things in their minds, all right? They have their moods, their opinions, and often these things, they clash with the men's energy. However, an escort does it very differently. And how? By becoming a perfect emotional mirror from the men. If he wants to be the powerful CEO, well, she allows him to do so. She's the adoring subject. If he wants to be the vulnerable boy, she's fine. She's going to be the nurturer. All right? By mirroring his desired self-image perfectly, she creates a sense of oneness that is incredibly intoxicating to the men. And the last thing, my loves, the escorts do very different that helps make that sexual experience a lot perhaps better is that they give the men the absence of the relational debt. And the reason why they do this is because they are different. They are not involved in any relation with the men. It's all actually a money transaction. That's it. In a marriage intimacy, what happens? Often sex comes with relational debt. If we have sex tonight, I might expect you to do the dishes tomorrow for me. Or if we have sex afterwards, I may bring up the things you said to me last week that are still bothering me. However, with a professional, the debt is settled up front and with cash, with money. And this creates a clean slate psychologically. The man does not have to earn her affection or worry about his performance or worry about anything that could be affecting the relationship within the next week. This transactional clarity allows for what? For a level of presence that is so difficult to achieve when you actually share perhaps a house, expenses, a history of bickering, of arguing, or anything else that lingers on our day-to-day lives in the normal relationships. So my friends, the question is, do escorts actually outperform the other ladies sexually? Do they do it very different? And the answer is yes, they do. However, the secret, the trick, is definitely not in their bodies or their gymnastic over-the-top performance sexually. No, the actual secret is the radical, undivided, and non-judgmental presence they give the man that come for their service. And when we begin to understand the psychology behind it, we will then be able to start and to bring some of that sanctuary energy right into our own lives, into our own connection, perhaps with our own partners. And with this, we have reached the end of today's video, but I invite all of you to connect with me through Instagram. Go and check out my other music relaxing channel here on YouTube. And last, go and see the channel's membership, just in case you find it useful. Once again, I am Maritza, and know that I will try my best to continue always keep bringing you ways on how to create a better bond with yourself and a more meaningful relationship with all those around you. Mwah. Till next time. Ciao, ciao, my loves. Ciao, ciao, my amores.